The opinions that you may hear us express, expressly or otherwise, over the public's airways, is in no way to represent the opinions expressed or otherwise by our management, producers, sponsors, or various members of their staffs or their families or few friends.
Nor should these views express the opinions of the broadcasters, the disc jockeys, the salesmen, the program and music directors, and their secretaries and girlfriends and wives and their staff.
Unless, of course, we are willing to assume that we can assume the responsibility that their opinions will not influence anyone else's opinions.
Or their family and friends.
And staff.
I think we're going to have to include a few Amazon delivery drivers in that list as well. Mad Radio, 92.7 FM, 1580 AM, Madison, John and Gordy. Welcome. You know, I'm not even sure about what the weather is going to be like outside. I'm not even sure if, we even have weather outside anymore. It's so dark. I can't see. I'm just a caveman, unfrozen by your scientist.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got? What do you got for weather there, Gordy?
Well, let me tell you, John, it's cloudy in Madison right now. Lots of cloud cover across southern Wisconsin. It's 31 degrees. Feels like 25.
All right.
And we'll see, if you liked the weather yesterday, you're going to love it again today because it's going to be partly cloudy this afternoon and high about 38. So, and then it's going to start warming up beyond that. And then we're going to get hit with some snow Friday night, Saturday, Sunday.
No. Oh,
yes.
no.
Yeah.
So
Winter.
pretty much the same as yesterday, today anyway, right?
That's it. You got it.
Same precautions should be taken as well. You think we're going to get any kind of fog? Rolled in, didn't get real thick yesterday, but you never know.
I ran down to Quick Trip here locally a few minutes ago, and there was a little bit of fog in the Baraboo Bluffs region.
All right.
There you go. I can't see anything outside right now. It's dark.
You don't.
Got a window window on the world right here.
Yeah.
Can't see anything.
Yeah. Well, it's too dark. I'm looking out over an industrial park from my house, and it's clear, perfectly clear. So
really,
it doesn't look bad at all.
Well, that's good. Yeah, very good. Well, did you hear the news? By the way, I hate to start on a down note, but Denny Lane, the guitarist from Moody Blues, first of all, and I think we have some music here too. He was in Moody Blues. This was their first big hit,
and this is Denny singing.
Yes, Denny Lane singing "Go Now."
Since you gotta go, oh, you better go now. Go now, go now.
Great singer and guitar player, and then he, of course, was in Wings with Paul McCartney, the early incarnation of Wings. And he was on the big album Band on the Run, which was a huge album for Wings and Paul McCartney. He died age of 79 yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And that is
there you go.
So close. I keep thinking, when these when these rock stars pass away, they're not that much older than I am. I'm thinking,
Funny
wow,
how that works.
They had major successes, and I'm sitting there in high school, paging through, some bad books. So it's crazy, right? And Denny Lane being part of the Moody Blues was kind of a misdirection play, because all of a sudden, they came out with all this very spacey, thematic album music, and it was really good. And I'm thinking, what happened to the singer, that started the whole thing off with the Moody Blues, right?
Yeah. Well, they had a few changes, and musically they kind of expanded. It was kind of a before Pink Floyd came along, before any of these bands that were playing sort of space rock or or progressive rock, they would call it now. But he was on the forefront of that, and really he had a lot
British
to do
invasion.
with.
Yeah.
Well, the British invasion. And I didn't know that Moody Blues were also, the early Moody Blues were managed by Brian Epstein of the Beatles.
Oh.
He had Jerry and the Pacemakers and a bunch of other early British bands, but Moody Blues was one of them. So anyway, Denny Lane gone at the age of 70.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah,
they
had some great albums. Yeah.
Listening to the like oldies stations on something like XM or listening to a lot of the stuff on Spotify, you listen to this old music, and it just it has that feeling of the British invasion. The whole thing just expands and grows, and then you realize that you get a little history on them. But the one thing I noticed right away is that the announcers, and they have announcers on XM, is that they never say the late Denny Lane or the late, because everybody at this point now
is late,
goes without saying, right?
Well, yes,
Gordon Lightfoot,
right.
So.
Yeah, they don't say that anymore.
Yeah.
It's just
it was an odd transition for me because like in the 2010s or so, I was thinking, well, why don't you say whether they're alive or not? I want to know,
Right.
And they knew ahead of time. They knew before me that this is kind of redundant. Let's not get into that. So.
Yeah, for music, I listen to a lot of Sirius XM, Underground Garage sometimes, and then some of the classic rock stuff, and then their 60s channel is really great.
Yeah,
60s and 70s stuff.
I get into the Little Steven stuff.
You don't like Little Steven?
I love Little Steven.
Okay.
Underground Garage, everything, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you didn't like that. Okay.
I mean, that is good stuff. Album tracks
Yes.
that they play are really good. In fact, I'm actually discovering Who songs from their first album I never heard before, and I'm thinking, God, that was a good song. Why didn't I hear that one?
Exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of local bands, garage bands, used to pick up on those album tracks and do those songs, release them locally, and they're really good. I mean, really good versions of those songs. But it wasn't something they wrote; it was a Who song.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's fun stuff. But I'm understanding that the people who are seniors now, why are they into XM? I had that whole question in my head for a long time, and it's because their vehicles come with XM radio. They're buying newer vehicles, they have XM. I don't have a newer vehicle that has XM in it. And so that's how they became members of XM and started listening to it, and that's why seniors are more, into the XM radio thing.
Yeah, they get a free trial subscription for something like 6 months, and then you can sign up again for, I don't know, $6 a month, or I don't know what it's up to now, $10 a month, whatever. But I think it's well worth it if you like, to find a little bit more obscure cuts, deeper cuts into the music.
Right, Deep Tracks. They have a channel called Deep Tracks, so you can listen
Deep
to
Track.
Well.
I have that one on my car stereo,
one of your
and
favorites?
also. Yeah, and I also like Willie's Roadhouse for old country music, like
Excellent
traditional
stuff on there. Yeah.
And he goes deep into country, old country. It's like Ernest Tubb and stuff like that.
But people still have to tune into terrestrial radio stations like this.
Like this
at
one.
92.7, just tune that dial with your hand, just kind of roll that dial across.
And by the way, we have some great music on the weekends here on WMDX. Saturday and Sunday, the Rocker takes over.
Yeah.
On Saturday night, they have some live music in the studio downtown. They have a lot of the local and regional Madison bands and southern Wisconsin bands on Saturday nights, and I think they do some of the best of on Sunday nights. But I'm in touch with Rocker. He listens to us occasionally. So shout out to Rocker this morning. Doing a great job in the lair there on Saturday nights. That's what they call it.
Yep. And that's where we used to broadcast from, the lair. Now we're doing it from home, testing this system out for a while. By the way, is my AC/DC backwards in? It is.
It is. You're going to fix that, though, right?
Yeah, I've got a new camera starting up tomorrow, which means, I probably won't be part of the show tomorrow. All the technical problems that'll go with that.
Yeah, you can't see it on the radio, but if you're watching on Facebook or X or YouTube, you can watch us live or watch the broadcast as a podcast later. But
when we started the show, I really wanted to go crazy. I really wanted to do great production on the video segment of the show, thinking that this would be the breaking innovation that this show would bring to radio.
Do you still feel that way? Or?
And then, people could watch it on their phones as they're driving and listening to it Bluetooth in their car and, just checking everything out, the whole sensory overload thing. And
we don't encourage people to watch while they're driving, though. I don't think that's a wise.
I mean, you don't have to watch all the time. You don't have to be glued to the screen, but you could, check it out, glance over, and then, at least see the AC/DC backwards on my chest. That's very important. Very interesting stuff.
And your rationale on that is if police vehicles can have a screen that they're watching while they're driving, you should be able to do that too.
Right. And the newer vehicles have these giant screens, on their dashes. Which is something I could put into my car if I wanted to.
Yeah, right.
Aftermarket stuff, but yeah. But I think it's just an innovation that's not being exploited, and I love to exploit and beat into the ground every aspect of media. So there you go.
A throwback to our Media World show from 30 plus years ago. Every aspect of media we will cover. Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover today. Boy, there's all kinds of news happening, and I guess we could give a little preview here in the next couple of minutes before our first time out here. But
we could, because we're going to be talking a little bit later on about Scott Walker's anti-union law, Act 10, and there was an article in The Nation magazine by John Nichols. John Nichols, by the way, a guest yesterday on the Devil's Advocate show. Apparently, they're blaming John Nichols. Somebody's blaming John Nichols for the January 6th riot.
Okay.
which is fun to listen to yesterday on their show. But this is different. This has to do with Act 10 and how it was passed. And I have a clip I think everybody's going to love to hear. This is, again, we'll listen to it later. Representative Dennis Kucinich interviewing on the floor Scott Walker, who is just decimated by Kucinich. Just absolutely. You have to hear this.
Okay.
It is well worth a listen, and we'll get to that.
Got that story, and then in the paper, hang on a second.
Yeah, big story. Second decision now.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this or not. But
a court came out yesterday and said that the 1849 law is inapplicable.
That's it.
This is the second time that they're saying the law back then did not apply to abortion at all.
Mm-hmm. We've got that story coming up. Also, Tom Tuberville finally gave it up. He released the hold he had on those military appointments. We've got him reacting to that and a whole lot more. We're just getting started on a beautiful Wednesday morning, cloudy and 31 degrees. A little chilly. We'll be back.
So just to kind of give you a heads up.
Yeah. What do you got?
My mega friend in Milwaukee says that he can hear everything we're talking about on YouTube.
Well, that's fine.
During our breaks.
It's kind of part of the show, it's sort of the behind the scene. If you're really into listening, to behind the scenes stuff, kind of gives everybody a heads up of what we're going to talk about.
For our most dedicated fans. Vince is our most dedicated fan.
There you go. That's right. There's one or two viewers, so we have to cater to them. You never know. It'll just expand one of these days. We won't even know it. So.
Well, we already have 15 subscribers on Facebook, or is that YouTube?
10 seconds.
All right, here we go. 10 seconds. You gonna go with that story you talked about, John? Number one.
Hiding your faces. Mad Radio, 92.7 FM and 1580 AM. John and Gordy Show, and the number is 608-879-8255 or 879-TALK, or you can certainly text us via all the different social media applications. So check that out if you can, and we'll read some of it if you can just pass your information along to us, or question, or even a topic for that matter. Or if you see something real fun to buy for Christmas, Remember, I asked you to give me a call. You know, there's in-aisle specials that they have during Christmas with all the weirdest products ever. And if you see something really interesting, let us know.
We talking Christmas stuff now?
Yeah.
Christmas gifts. John and Gordy's Christmas gift guide.
I think I'm going to go out to the store. You know, some of them like Kohl's has this stuff in their aisles. I'll come in with my own list.
Okay.
Damn it. Okay.
Got a little Christmas music there for you. Get you in the mood. Okay. All right. On to our first topic.
All right. Let's
first
talk
story.
about Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House.
Okay.
He said that the MAGA Republicans are blurring out the faces of rioters on January 6th. All the tapes are released, and they're blurring them out, just to be fair, just so people don't pursue them and go after them. And we all thought, oh, okay, all right, I get that, you know. But then you think a little bit longer about that, and wait a minute here. That doesn't sound right. Johnson did it because it doesn't want them to be retaliated against and be charged by the Department of Justice.
Huh. Why not?
And it's, many have written saying, isn't this not obstruction of justice? You know?
Right.
If it isn't, what is it, you know? And then I heard yesterday on Matt Flynn's program, Joe, who calls us up here in the morning as well, and she called Matt Flynn to get a legal advice on this thing, and she was curious about, well, if he's blurring the faces, obviously he is obstructing justice. Second, that does nothing for the Department of Justice because they have the original tapes and they can see the faces. So blurring the faces doesn't really protect those people. So, you know, except from the public who might be able to recognize those individuals and turn them in. But, you know, it's a good question, right?
It is a good question, and you wonder if anybody who suggested that. I mean, was the why even do that at all? It doesn't make any sense.
It seems like a lot of work because you know, there's like 3 weeks worth if you just play them end to end, 3 weeks worth of video. So it seemed like this isn't really going to happen. It's just a slow bleed. They release a certain amount, then they release another certain amount, and they're going to release them all, not at once, but, slowly with blurred faces. Like we're going to watch this again. We don't have to see it again. We saw it. We watched it live in person. This isn't something that we're still questioning. Well, I don't know. Is that Antifa? Is that BLM? Are those FBI agents causing the stir? What is it? There's very little question about what happened. In fact, there's no question about it, except by the right, who want us to take them seriously, or at least, be part of the conversation, right? Well, we got to have a conversation, we have to go right down the middle, both sides, No, it doesn't work that way. We all watched it live. It was devastating to anyone who loves this country.
Well, and what Mike Johnson had to say within that comment, if you really read it closely, because you blurred the faces out because we don't want them to be retaliated against and charged by the DOJ.
Right.
I mean, he had to throw that in specifically.
Right.
To say that that's what's been going on, retaliated against.
Yes.
No, they're being charged with crimes. That's
right.
not retaliation.
Retaliation. That you're absolutely right. It's subtle and it's there.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, why is he, trying to protect BLM protesters who actually started this, or the FBI agents? Why are we protecting them with blurred faces?
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay. Should are we going to ramble on here for a little bit? Is this our ramble on?
Well, we could continue to ramble on.
We can ramble for a while, I think. Okay.
Here we go. See?
What's our next ramble on?
The ramble on
warm-up
story.
segment.
This is about the religious right. Tim Alberta, a national political reporter for The Atlantic, wrote this. There is certainly among a lot of evangelical Christians that the government is coming for them. Again, I get this all the time from my MAGA friend in Milwaukee who's a born again. He said, "Oh, the government's coming to get me." That secular culture has a plot, basically, to take them all down for some reason. We're going after religious Christians. Why would we? But for some reason, they feel like they're picked on. When there's a joke and it includes Christ or God or something like that, well, you wouldn't do that to, some other religion, but only Christians get picked on all the time in your jokes. It's this, they don't have any confidence in their religion, that they have to defend it all the time, or they feel intimidated because there's a joke included, with Jesus or something. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they're persecuted, and it's infectious that they fear that persecution complex is very strong in a lot of these religious right individuals. For Christians, this was no longer about winning elections now and preserving the culture. This was about destroying enemies and dominating the country by any means necessary. Now, this is a reporter who follows religion, and this is what his opinion is that, now it's not so much preserving the culture of religion, it is about destroying your enemies. And you got to really think, what does God think about that? And if he's looking down, is he going to send his son back down again because he's seen religion completely corrupted by his followers, so to speak? This could actually prompt the second coming, the end times. So well, just a concept that I'm having here.
Well, and just to go back a little bit into history, I mean, there's been so many evangelical priests or preachers, I guess is a better word for it, like Jim and Tammy Faye. I mean, I always come back to them, that are just, it's big money. It's a big operation. Eventually they're on the take. I mean, there's corruption going on. They live in gigantic houses. They have plenty of cars, and see this time and again with some of the most popular televangelists. And so, is it really coming after them to point this out, that they're doing, perhaps some illegal things? No, I don't.
It was like, Trump saying that everybody's picking on him by using his own words against him, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's not
persecution.
Happening.
The persecution process.
Complex. Yeah.
Complex. That's a better word. Yeah. All right. 6:29, 31 degrees. Back with more after this.
Interesting stuff. I don't know. I feel like getting into just a little part of that story that we didn't get to on it.
I just walked back in. I was getting
Jerry
some coffee.
Falwell.
Okay.
Junior. And the scandal that took him down. I just find
we can recap that.
I think it's fascinating because it again involves a threesome.
What is it with these guys?
The irony of all of it, right?
It's always sex. What?
That's all they think about,
What are we moving on to after that?
By the way,
let Vince know. What?
There's a song like that. All you think about is sex, and it's by Sparks, the group Sparks, and
Sparks,
all
those
you
guys.
think about is sex. Hey, could you look that up and see if it's not right at the beginning of the song? I think, so we don't have to kind of search anything out.
I'll search for it.
I want to hit either Tuberville or Liz Cheney somewhere in this.
All right, let's do Yeah, let's do Tuberville.
Okay, you're going to recap Jerry Falwell and then Tuberville?
Yes.
Do you think?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tuberville is fairly short, but I've got the article on him. I sent it to you as well about Biden talking about Tuberville.
Are you going to play that?
I don't have Biden actually speaking. I've got his reaction to it here.
Oh yes, that's right.
On paper, but I have Tuberville talking about it.
Yep.
I'm
looking at your email. Yeah, they're PDFs.
Yeah, I've got Tuberville here, right here. Here's, here it is. Let me just check.
Senator Tuberville,
yes.
Do you have any regrets that you didn't achieve exactly what you set out to do?
Listen to him tap dance around how he didn't really lose.
Yeah.
It was a draw. Now he's still holding on to 12 high-powered generals that he's not given the okay to. But
I heard that on Matt Flynn was talking about it. These are all lower promotions.
Right.
The upper promotions are still on hold.
Yes. These dozen generals, or I don't know whatever they are. But
yeah.
I have all you think about is sex queued up.
Do they come right out and say it at the beginning, or?
It's at like the beginning of the first chorus, but I have it there.
All right, let's do that.
So you're getting into Tommy Tuberville first?
Yes. No. John's going to do...
We're going to wrap on the religious right and then go to Tuberville.
Which is, the religious right is what that sex song is needed for.
Okay.
And then I've got the sound on Tuberville. Tuberville, isn't it?
I think it's Tuberville, yeah.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Then Pat Kreitlow's been pronouncing it wrong.
Maybe he's doing it on purpose.
Tuberville would be two B's, but, people say their names differently than the way they're pronounced. I mean,
I'm going to get the sound of tap dancing.
That'd be good.
That song, T for Two. Da, 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 da. When these politicians start going into the weeds and not saying anything, really.
Yeah,
when
that's good. I like that. Or just the sound of somebody tap dancing,
Yeah.
Just endlessly. Oh, they're tap dancing again.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
All right. Well, I hope Vince is enjoying this part of the show. Our secret listener.
I think he got up early just once this week. So,
He just likes to irritate you.
Yeah, I didn't know he was texting me all along yesterday.
Well, we should actually, okay. Yeah, after Tuberville, if we have time, maybe get into the breaking news in Wisconsin.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Mop and Bake, the exciting new floor polish that will make your floors shine two different ways, regular and extra crispy.
Sounds good. 92.7 FM. John Peterson on this end, and in the Baraboo end,
Gordy Young, right here in the Baraboo Studios.
I want to kind of put a fork in this religious rights story.
Okay.
We're talking about how they've changed their tune now. Instead of just protecting the religion, they basically want to destroy enemies and dominate the country by any means possible. Okay, I mean, this is according to a reporter who covers the religious end of news, and these are the conclusions he's come to. He also mentions that former Liberty University professor Jerry Falwell, he perfected the art of using fear and hatred as a growth strategy for the Christian right, which is crazy stuff, isn't it? I mean, just, very angry, very bitter stuff.
Now, are we talking about Jerry Falwell?
New Testament. Yeah.
Jerry Falwell or Jerry Falwell Jr.?
Yep, Falwell Jr.
Okay.
Okay. Did I forget the junior part?
You forgot Junior, yeah.
All right. So anyway, I thought it was very interesting, the fall of Jerry Falwell Jr. What brought him down was another threesome. Okay, we know about, Christian Ziegler and Bridget and plus one, we could say.
Yeah.
So
plus one.
This is also what happened with Falwell Jr. He had to resign as president of Liberty University in 2020 after a former, get this is just really insane, after a former 29-year-old hotel pool attendant
oh, Lord.
turned business partner told Reuters that he carried on an affair with a Falwell's wife, Becky, alone now. This is beginning in 2012. He was 20. And it lasted until 2018, 2012 to 2018, having an affair with his wife, and he knew it because Falwell would watch as they had sex.
Okay. Yeah.
And this guy is saying he believes that he was preyed upon by Jerry Falwell Jr. And so that was the story that took Falwell Jr. down as president of Liberty University.
You sense a pattern here. They get rich, they get powerful, then they think they're above the law, and then they're beyond scrutiny in their private lives, apparently. And then they bring others along for the ride.
I mean, we don't see any problem. If you want to watch your wife making it with somebody else, fine, okay. This is your private business. That's okay. But if you
Behind
tell other
doors.
people that they can't do that kind of stuff because it's not Christ-like, then, then obviously you're a bit of a hypocrite and should keep your mouth shut.
It's just sex all the time, right? Isn't that what it is?
That's what it is.
All you ever think about is sex. All you ever think about exclusively. All you ever think about is sex.
All right by me. Okay.
Is that Sparks?
Yeah. It's Sparks. Yeah. Way back when. Anyway, that, I just had to end that story on a high note. So.
There you go. Well, something happened on Capitol Hill yesterday that was a little bit momentous. It was a big story. Let me just say it that way. Yeah, momentous. This Senator Tommy Tuberville? The guy that's been holding up 425 military nominations for 10 months. Well, he finally gave it up yesterday. And he allowed those military appointments to go forward. The Senate signed it immediately, went over right to the president. He's ready to sign it. And they caught up with Tommy Tuberville right after the vote. And take a listen to hear what he had to say about that.
Senator Tuberville,
yes.
Do you have any regrets that you didn't achieve exactly what you set out to do, that the policy is still in place?
It was pretty much a draw. I mean, they didn't get what they wanted, we didn't get what we wanted, and when they change the rules, it's hard to win. And so they changed the NDAA rules. We didn't get to fight for it to leave it in the Senate, and so just unfortunate the American people didn't get a voice. I'm releasing everybody. Got a hold on, I think, 11 four-star generals. Everybody else is completely released from me. Now somebody else might. I think there's a few other people got holds on 1 or 2 or 3 people. But other than that, it's over. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wow.
It's over. But he still has a hold on 11 or 12 four-star generals.
Ridiculous.
Now, President Biden had something to say about this later. He was at a fundraiser. I don't have any sound on this, but Biden said in a statement, "I hope no one forgets what he did," talking about Tommy Tuberville. Referring to the holds that he had in place by the Alabama senior senator for 10 months. Biden said these confirmations are long overdue and should never have been held up in the first place. Our service members are the backbone of our country and deserve to receive the pay and promotions they've earned. In the end, this was all pointless. And boy, that says it all.
And he said, remind him of it, Whenever he's anywhere, just remind him how ridiculous this whole thing was, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, and Tuberville and his Republican colleagues in the Senate who supported the senator's tactics, Biden said, needlessly hurt hundreds of service members and military families and threatened our national security, all to push a partisan agenda. And the military and their families deserve better. But yeah, Biden said, I hope no one forgets what he did.
Yeah.
And he's right.
I mean, holding
They
up the
shouldn't
4-star
forget it.
generals, the guy's really in control of everything is insane as well, and that continues. Again, I'm going to bring up Matt Flynn because I heard him yesterday again. He is really coming out against Tuberville. I mean, he is saying if you see him in Milwaukee or if you see him anywhere, walk up to him and tell him how much you disagree with him. Don't threaten him, but just walk up to him, which is threatening all by itself. But yeah, he's on a rant basically.
Well, and the reason he was holding him up was because he didn't want the federal government to pay for any military abortions or that was
travel and all that other stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of that issue, again, front page of the Wisconsin State Journal today, big breaking news on the ruling from that 1849 law. It's been interpreted as near a complete ban. Well, it doesn't apply to abortion.
No,
that's
it
what
never did.
That's what the judge said. It's been second time, I think, that she's ruled on that. It'll eventually probably be appealed, right, as it works its way up. But it's basically now this ruling says that it's 20 weeks, right? That's what it
goes back to the original law.
To the original law. That's right.
After Roe was overturned. Now it goes back to the laws that came after 1849. God, can you imagine we're still talking about that kind of stuff?
I know. In the ruling, Dane County Judge Diane Schilpler, this was back in July, on the first ruling, she indicated the 1849 law applied not to abortion, but to, is it feticide?
Feticide, yeah.
Yeah, understood to be an act of intentional violence toward a fetus rather than a therapeutic abortion. So that's the ruling.
That's right.
That will probably be appealed up to the appeals court or the Supreme Court, right?
So at least we know at this point that the 1849 statute is no longer in effect. All right? And this is now back to the pre-Dobbs. Whatever was developed after that, whatever came after, and it's 20 weeks, basically is the ban. After 20 weeks, it's banned.
That's right. And Planned Parenthood had a comment. Today's ruling is another important step forward in restoring and expanding access to abortion in Wisconsin. That was Michelle Velasquez. I believe I got that pronunciation close, but so.
That's a huge story. I mean, this is the second case.
Right.
Came to the same conclusion. So it must be pretty obvious within the language of this law, this constitutional thing that, just is so ridiculous even before women could vote, before medical science, changed dramatically, in the century after. So, it's good stuff. I mean, this is really, this is great news for abortion rights and, medical information for women. Plus, it's being challenged now at the Supreme Court level, and we'll see what happens with that. And it may become legal in Wisconsin.
There you go. If you'd like to comment, you can send us a text or give us a call, 608-879-8255. That's 608-879-TALK. Or you can text us or send us, a comment on the Civic Media app. Easy to do. Shows up on our screen right away, and you can be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, I want to get into the vaccine thing. It's a problem here in the house. Ann did not get the latest booster, and my son, who now has COVID, didn't get the booster. I did, and my younger son did, but and we're okay so far. So, we're nursing our son now. He's got it. He's trapped in the basement. We're not letting him out. But Marjorie
Really?
Taylor, yeah. Well, we put food in front of his door, and
now is Ann going to get the booster? Is it too late for the?
You should always get the booster. It's never too late.
Okay.
Yeah, but in winter, of course, you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the big malls and stuff like that. And you're going to be breathing in a lot of what everybody else is breathing. So you should definitely wear your mask. It's taken off. This COVID infection is taking off in the area and all around the country. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is now receiving a backlash from everybody on social media.
Why is that? What would she say?
Why is social media so damn important? Anyway, she's getting a backlash from that. She tweeted this, and this is just stunning, absolutely stunning. If parents know what's best and they should be in control of their children about education and what health care they should get, well, this may raise a few questions in your head. She wrote this for moms and dads. This is her message. Pediatricians have always treated parents like you're bad if you refuse vaccines for your kids. So don't be offended. And it's not new. I refused multiple vaccines for my kids when they were growing up and told the pediatrician every time, no. And when it comes to COVID vaccine, and we're talking about the regular vaccines, right? The ones like polio and
diphtheria.
Come on, man.
All the usual ones, yeah.
When it comes to COVID vaccines for kids, I would be hell no every single time they recommend it. Kids aren't at risk from COVID, but they face risks from COVID vaccines. So people were just freaked out over this. And it's true. I mean, you really have to give your kids all the vaccines they need. In fact, they need to get the vaccines in order to be in school.
Mm-hmm.
One response on what? Let's go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, it used to be, and I think it still is, you're required to get, the polio vaccine, the diphtheria,
Right.
all those, to get into school to begin with and to have them on a regular basis, right? When they come due. So
it was a scramble for us because, we had to go back and find somebody to put the vaccine list together that our kids received in order to give it to the school. So we had to really scramble. I don't know how many parents have to go through that, but it's not like we're keeping records of all their vaccines. So you go to the doctor, do you have a record of every vaccine they had? And it's very difficult. And then you got to pass it along to the school. So some of the people who responded, this is the backlash part. One user asked Greene, serious question, why do you believe doctors are out to get your children?
Right.
Do not realize how paranoid this sounds. And another wrote, why the new post? Old one wasn't idiotic enough. And another user said, Greene, serious question. Why do you believe doctors? You're lying. They don't attend school without being vaccinated. Your lies are so ridiculous. Might I see your medical degree? She's giving medical advice.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's in the news for another reason, too. And after we take a brief time out, we'll tell you about that. Stay with us for more John and Gordy. How do you pronounce, John, are you there?
Yeah.
Republican Rashida Tlaib?
Tlaib.
Tlaib, okay. They were going to censure her.
Mm-hmm.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene and Georgia Republican McCormick got physically aggressive with her, grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her as they clashed about competing resolutions to censure Tlaib.
Jeez.
And he, well, I'll tell you what he had to say.
Oh,
this'll.
all right,
it's pretty funny.
Man.
Okay, so that's just a brief wrap up of that story, and then what do we got?
I want to get. I just want to throw something real quick in about the rich getting richer.
Okay.
All right, because of the Trump tax cut in 2017. Mad Radio, 92.7 FM, and on the AM dial 1580. Yes, AM is still out there somewhere.
It's all across that AM dial.
They still have that, you know?
Is it in all the cars? They were trying to take it out of some cars for a while. Just to have FM.
Yeah.
I know Teslas don't have AM radios anymore.
There you go.
Is that right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because, like, think of all the electronics that mess with, like, any AM radio. Think of all the electronics that are in a Tesla.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What, they didn't have room for another frequency, or I mean, it would interfere somehow? Or?
Yeah, all that interference, like from power supplies and all that you hear whenever you. I don't know. What was the last time you listened to an AM radio?
Well, yeah, so they're more prone to static, maybe.
Yeah,
and other things interfering with the signal. I guess.
Let me just interject here because
yes, okay.
AM, they tried so hard to make AM sound good.
Yeah.
You know, they made AM stereo, and that did sound better. But nowadays, and I don't know why Tesla didn't pick up on this, is that it's now digitized. The towers have been digitized. So the AM station towers can send out a digital signal, and it sounds just like FM, even better than FM. And FM sounds really ratty. So, it's so compressed. But anyway, AM is digital now, so there isn't any reason not to have the AM dial on the radio as well.
Okay.
To receive digital signals.
Johnny's Technical Corner.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
We appreciate that. Now, we were talking about Marjorie. What's
a little pet peeve of mine?
Just a little pet peeve. You got a lot of pet peeves, some big, some little.
I do.
You got the soapbox standing by at all times. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we were talking about her. And you had that story just before we took a little time out.
Right. The advice, don't get vaccines for your children because she's a doctor. She knows.
Well, yeah. And she's also in the news from something that happened with her a couple of days ago, I think. Marjorie Taylor Greene, got into it with a colleague. She had a private meeting, first of all, with House Speaker Mike Johnson, where she was accusing Georgia Republican Representative McCormick of getting physically aggressive with her. This is after they had a vote, or they were bringing up censuring the Representative Tlaib, Rashida Tlaib. So they got into it. She and this Representative McCormick of Georgia, she's accusing him of getting physically aggressive with her during this meeting. He grabbed her by the shoulders, allegedly, and shook her after they clashed about their competing resolutions to censure Tlaib. He has denied this. Representative McCormick of Georgia has denied the claims of aggression, describing the interaction as a friendly gesture. So if you grab somebody by the shoulders and shake them, in his eyes, that's a friendly gesture. They just had a little disagreement.
This is going on so much on the right. You know, these right-wing politicians are having so much violent interactions that you're wondering if you're just normalize it now. You know, so if you start slugging it out, well, we just had a minor disagreement. They'll have all these other ways of describing it that sound just friendly and nice. But, they had a fist fight that lasted 10 minutes,
Yeah, elbow to the back of, a guy from McCormick. Or,
normalize the
McCarthy.
whole thing, right?
Yeah, we're just roughhousing a little bit. That's all that was.
I came across this little tidbit. I thought, ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Since the Republican tax cuts of 2017, the Trump tax cuts,
yes,
the wealth of American billionaires increased 78% to a record $5.16 trillion. Okay, that's the Trump tax cuts. Those same tax cuts resulted in raising, about $8 trillion to our national deficit. Okay? All right. So, the billionaires are making out like crazy. And so many people are blaming Biden for, living paycheck to paycheck and feeling like things aren't getting any better. Well, it's getting better for the rich. They're doing real well. And because they want to bring the deficit down, they never bring up repealing any of these tax cuts, which would do the job, basically.
Yeah, if
right?
they taxed billionaires, I was reading if they had taxed all of the billionaires in the U.S. $1 billion tax, they'd still be billionaires. So yeah, they're
There you go.
multi-billionaires. So even
Yeah.
if they got $1 billion from each one of them, that would virtually wipe out much of the debt, and they'd still be billionaires. So
Excellent. Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy town.
It is. It is.
Um,
Man.
we've got a story coming up after the top of the hour about the Republicans are having a debate tonight at the University of Alabama.
Right.
The 4 remaining nominees, excluding Trump, because of course he's not going to show up because he's way ahead in the polls, and why should he? And why should he have to answer any questions from anybody, right?
Right.
But they're going to have this debate tonight with the 4 remaining: Chris Christie, Nikki Haley, DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy. So they're going to be there and they're going to be talking. But last night, and I don't know if we have this standing by, but there was a one-on-one town hall. The always fair and balanced Sean Hannity, along with former President Donald Trump. And he started. Do you have that cut, Sam? Let's just listen to this cut. I think Sean Hannity is asking Trump what he would do and what kind of measures he might take if he becomes president again. Roll the cut.
You would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not.
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution.
I'm going to be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No, no, no. Other than day one, we're closing the border." And we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So
okay?
that sounds to me like you're going back to policy.
I just love that. That is really fantastic. You don't think he's going to like being a dictator for that one day and maybe, expand it a little bit.
Dictator for a day.
And the big lie, of course, is that, and just caught this article yesterday, we have never produced this much oil ever in this country.
Right.
Until recently, under Biden. So, he didn't even produce as much as Biden is now. But he'll take credit for it.
Oh, of course.
When he becomes president, we're producing more than ever.
Right.
And he doesn't have to do a damn thing.
Hey, that's got to put a cap on the first hour here, but we've got another hour straight ahead.
Scott Walker.
6:59. Yes,
Big
Scott
story.
Walker. Back in the news.
Look, I'm going to take a quick lap from one side of the house to the other.
In other words, you're going to the bathroom, huh?
No. Okay. Hopefully I won't get attacked by my dog, which, by the way, attacked Sam yesterday. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you find the cap? Is the cap times out today, Sam?
I believe so. I think it came out last Wednesday, so it should be out today.
It comes out every Wednesday.
I'm going to try and find it around Baraboo. I got to believe it's around here somewhere, but
the thing is, the Cap Times used to come in the supplement. They have like a advertising supplement that they just throw in everybody's mailbox. It used to be in that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
but it's
I
not.
don't think it's in there anymore.
No, I got the paper this morning. It's not in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
anyway, lap time for me.
Okay.
I'm just looking at my headphones. Doesn't indicate a left or right ear.
I think I got a message here from Rocker. Rocker, you're listening to us right now, aren't you? With the behind the scenes, it goes, just so you know, you guys are talking, and I can hear you on Facebook or
we know
YouTube
that.
Or whatever. And
that's
I told
why
you,
we've cleaned it up. That's why
we
we're
know
not
that
swearing
we're not swearing. But I think we should mention this as an extra feature of the John and Gordy show. It's a behind the scenes.
That's right. It's bonus. It's bonus material.
It's
There's
bonus
a whole bunch
cover.
of texts I haven't been paying attention to.
Oh, really? Anything?
Yeah, somebody says each person's vaccine record is online now, easy to get.
What?
I don't know where, but
What?
What?
That doesn't seem right.
No, it's private information.
yeah.
HIPAA laws
I mean,
would.
you might. Yeah, I mean, you can probably access it through a web portal for like your healthcare provider, but
Right.
I don't know. That's probably like personalized based on who you go through.
My
Somebody
chart,
says,
usually.
"Oh, Rocker says only one day is needed as a dictator. The rest would serve as emperor."
That's right. That's right. He could actually redefine it. Yeah.
Can you put that on the comment so I remember? If you can,
yeah.
just
we gotta-
paraphrase that line.
Oh, he says he loves the bonus material too. He commented on Facebook.
Cooperville is
I'm
a dumb
gonna
cracker.
comment that on Facebook so we can show it on the screen here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's bonus coverage, Rocker. Just for you, man, apparently.
Yeah. StreamYard.
What else? You promoted Scott Walker. By the way, the governor signed the bill to retain the Brewers.
Oh, okay.
That's
Wait, you mean the funding for the stadium, or
the Milwaukee Brewers
2
will be in
minutes.
Wisconsin until 2050.
okay?
Mhm.
So that guarantees.
Yeah, they signed the
theirs.
bill yesterday.
Signed into law a bill that authorizes spending more than $500 million in state and local funds.
Oh, I think I'm starting to hallucinate from caffeine.
Oh, good. That's good for you. You're drinking the mushroom coffee, huh? Hey, now.
Wrong
You're all weak.
mushrooms. Damn. I knew there was something wrong with that.
The guy who used to run WSUM, the student station at UW, he once said, "The mistakes that you make while drunk are not funny. The mistakes that you make while high are incredibly funny," referring to when DJs come in.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
That's wise words.
It's a good drug joke. Yeah. Yep.
You got to hear, I don't have, I guess this was at a fundraiser. Biden said, you hear what Biden said at this fundraiser?
No.
If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I
He
thought
said
that was
that
a
out
good
loud, huh?
comment. Interesting comment. May quell everybody's nerves in regards to his age. So you never know.
Maybe, or heighten them. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you don't know.
All right.
We're
What
going to
we,
do the Scott Walker thing right out of the gate here, okay? From the Nation magazine. All right.
And then I have Liz Cheney standing by if we want to do that.
John and Gordy on the radio. 92.7 is the place to go. It's John and Gordy, John and Gordy, John and Gordy, John and Gordy. In the morning, in the morning, in the morning, in the morning. It's John and Gordy, John and Gordy, John and Gordy, John and Gordy. At the break of dawn, get your coffee on. John and Gordy on the radio. 92.7 is the place to go.
Yeah, baby.
Welcome back.
The money we sink into this program, that was costly, but well
John
worth
and Gordy Singers, led by Shondell Marks.
Yep. Mad Radio 92.7 FM. and on the AM dial 1580. I don't believe it is digital yet. So, yeah, okay. This is, yesterday on the Devils, John Nichols appeared because there was a rumor that he had started the January 6th riot.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Anyway, he had to deal with that. Okay.
Well,
but then,
okay.
I ran across an article that he had written for The Nation magazine, and he talked about Act 10. And this is what he wrote. Walker and his allies push Act 10, which their budget repair bill included, as well as the version of the measure that was finally passed. And it did not pass constitutional muster, he writes here. In 2012, Dane County Circuit Judge Juan Colas struck down Act 10 on the grounds that it violated both the Wisconsin and U.S. constitutions. 2 constitutions in 1. Specifically, Judge Colas ruled that the differential treatment of specific unions and their members violated First Amendment guarantees of freedom of association and expression. No kidding. That came to mind right away on this. Not to mention the equal protection guarantees that are the bedrock of our Constitution. So anyway, last week, a coalition of unions filed a lawsuit demanding that Act 10 be struck down. I think they should go after, what was decided by Judge Colas, basically, but I don't think it's part of that. Anyway, noting that the exemptions Walker included for police and fire units, the plaintiffs argued that Wisconsin's statute unconstitutionally discriminates against most public sector workers, but not them, denying their freedom to negotiate with employers on subjects beyond wages. So anyway, I came across an old story that I recall doing a long time ago on democurmudgeon.blogspot.com, where Scott Walker was interviewed by Representative Dennis Kucinich back then. And I've got to play you this cut. This is just so phenomenally ridiculous. It's a little long, but it is well worth the time. Check this out.
Ohio, Dennis Kucinich for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Governor Walker, you said the union leaders agreed to the financial cuts, but then you blamed the local unions for not following through on these pledges. That's because you refused to drop your demand to strip workers of collective bargaining rights that had nothing to do with the budget, and refused to negotiate and rejected the union's offer. Now, Governor Walker, if the unions in Wisconsin agreed to the financial cuts you sought, I don't understand how this can continue to be characterized as a debate about state budget deficits. This is supposed to be a hearing about state and municipal debt. I don't understand how repealing collective bargaining rights for public workers shows us anything about state debt. Let me ask you about some of the specific provisions in your proposal to strip collective bargaining rights. First, your proposal would require unions to hold annual votes to continue representing their own members. Can you please explain to me and members of this committee how much money this provision saves for your state budget?
That and a number of other provisions we put in, because if you're going to ask, if you're going to put in place a change like that, we wanted to make sure that we protected the workers of our state so that they had a right to know what kind of value they got out. It's the same reason we gave workers the right to choose, which is a fundamental American right, the right to choose whether or not they want to be a part of a union and whether or not they went up to $1,000.
How much money does it save, Governor? Just answer
that particular part doesn't save any.
Okay,
in the same way that
that's
if you,
the point. It
if you read the
obviously
federal
has
budget,
no effect whatsoever.
I'll answer your
I'm
question.
reclaiming my time. It obviously had no effect whatsoever on the state budget. I want to ask about another one of your proposals. Under your plan, you would prohibit employees from paying union member dues from their paychecks. How much money would this provision save your state budget?
It would save employees up to $1,000 per year they could use to pay for their pension and their health care contributions.
Governor, it wouldn't save anything. There are minor administrative costs, if any. It's obvious what the real intent is here. And
it's to give workers a right. It's to give the workers the right to choose.
I'll back it up. Mr. Chairman, right here from the state of Wisconsin's Legislative Fiscal Bureau, this is a nonpartisan state budget agency, much like the Congressional Budget Office. The Bureau was asked to identify provisions in the governor's bill that are non-fiscal policy items that have no state fiscal effect. This letter confirms the obvious, that Governor Walker's effort to repeal the rights of state workers is a non-fiscal policy item. No effect on the state budget shortfall. I ask unanimous consent that this letter be included in the record.
There you go. So it's obvious that Scott Walker proposed Act 10 to take down unions, period. Didn't save any money for the state. None. And they continue to say, oh, it saved $8 billion here and $10 billion there. Did not. It's non-fiscal.
What year was that back and forth between Kucinich and Scott Walker?
That I can't tell you.
2012 or 2013? I mean, it was a good 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Nothing's changed. Yeah, it's right there.
It's right there in my blog at democurmudgeon.blogspot.com. Just plug in, Kucinich and Walker, and it comes up. It's fun stuff, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, he really raked them over the coals completely.
Yes. Well, he did.
So, I don't know. It should be part of their lawsuit now. The Coalition of Unions should be part of their lawsuit against Act 10.
Hey, I don't know if you caught any of this. Liz Cheney was making the rounds yesterday, and if you saw her, she was on the Today Show, she was on MSNBC, she was on, I think, CNN, she was everywhere promoting her new book, Oath and Honor, a memoir and a warning. And she believes Donald Trump would refuse to leave office, by the way, if he gets reelected if he gets a second presidential term and gets reelected. And so that, quoting her now, that may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in if you vote for, the presidential election.
That's a really good point. Excellent point.
It is. Now, she had some other things to say here about Donald Trump, and let's just listen to this question from Savannah Guthrie, and then let Liz Cheney tell her what she thinks about Donald Trump.
You think this is a vote about whether or not we still have democracy in this country?
It certainly is, and Donald Trump has told us exactly what he will do. He will not abide by the rulings of the courts. He will certainly appoint people to office, whether or not they can be confirmed by the Senate. He has talked about using the military in terms that really are fundamentally un-American, including here in the United States. So it's a very dangerous moment, and it's a moment for people to understand that cannot be the path that we go down as a country. He won't support and uphold the Constitution. We've already seen what happened. He is the only president in American history who attempted to overturn an election, who attempted to seize power, to stay in power after he had lost. And the reason that we didn't have a much more serious crisis was because there were people around him who stopped him, because there were people around the country, state officials, for example, who stopped him, who did not yield to the pressure that he put on them to change votes from Biden to Trump. We won't have that safeguard again. And he's so dangerous. If you have a president who is unwilling to abide by the rulings of the courts, who's unwilling to uphold the Constitution, then there are no guardrails who can stop him.
And that kind of says it all, I mean, and she's exactly right. He had some people around him that were trying to stop him, but then it fell back to the states to start to deny what he was trying to do. And she went on to explain that, now that he's had this run through, 4 years ago, now they know what their plan is to be able to have him a complete dictator when he comes in. That's all the major right-wing organizations and institutes with their fellows, those individuals are doing all the research in the background. They will be a part of his administration. They will carry out the plan in a perfect way, and he will allow that to happen. There won't be any guardrails anymore. It is a total dictatorship. And again, looking forward as she did, thinking that he will not give up the power and he will continue to be president. You never know. It may become a Putin thing, where suddenly, his competitors suddenly fall away dead someplace. Well, accidentally, it sounds outrageous
in a restaurant.
Yeah, it sounds, unbelievable, but, anything goes.
Well, he's mob-like right now. He's like a mob boss now. He's sending death threats out there. and it's, everybody knows it,
Mm-hmm.
and yet the courts are allowing him to get away with this.
Well, and think about the fact that the new House Speaker, Thomas, is in there. Actually, Liz Cheney had a lot to say, and she has a lot to say in her book about Mike Thomas. And she doesn't like, anything that he's up to. She said also on that interview that she was friends with Mike Thomas. She knew him pretty well before the insurrection, and then after the insurrection, he completely flipped for Trump and was actually putting up those objections to him not being able to extend his presidency. I mean, they were trying to do the amicus brief.
Right.
That was all his idea, and that's where they parted company. Anyway, she has a lot to say about Mike Thomas, and she wrote all that before he became Speaker. But President Biden was at a Democratic fundraiser, and he was asked about Trump, and he had that quote, "If Trump wasn't running, I'm not sure I'd be running." President Biden said, but he says Democrats cannot let him win. And the remarks suggested Biden may not have sought a second term if Trump had decided not to run again. So that comment is getting a lot of play on both sides of the aisle.
And it should, because, obviously Biden has a tremendous amount of experience working with both sides and doing what he has done already to help the economy, passing a whole slew of wish list items that the Democrats have wanted to pass for years. So, yeah, he's very important. He should be, certainly in this competition.
Back with more after this.
Do you mean Mike Johnson?
What did I say? Mike Thomas?
You said, yeah.
I'll correct myself. Mike Thomas. I can never. He's got such a generic name.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the Johnsons, they're all over the place. Okay, this may be this is going to be a short one. I'm going to play. Where is this? Did I extended the frame here? I'm going to play the candidate again. His comments about health care. Doctors going out and just pay them.
What candidate? What?
Yesterday, there was a candidate.
We've got Joe on the line also when we come in.
Oh, okay. Let's go with
Let
that
me
then.
correct Mike Thomas to Mike Johnson. By the way.
Got it. We're about to come in 5 seconds.
Okay. .20, John and Gordy. Wednesday morning, 31 degrees, cloudy skies. I was talking about House Speaker Mike Johnson, not Mike Thomas. I knew an old DJ named Mike Thomas. Mike Johnson, obviously, House Speaker. Was talking about that right before we had a little time out there. Okay, we're back.
All right.
We're back. Mad Radio, 92.7 WMDX.
All right,
John?
I got the thinking about health care again, now that Trump says he wants to repeal Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act as we all know it today.
Right.
Maybe, Trump should update the language a little bit. Anyway, there are a couple of candidates, one possible candidate, but another candidate in another state, Montana. I played this yesterday. I want to play it right now again because I'm going to play another track from Eric Hovde, who is a potential challenger to Tammy Baldwin. All right, and he had a comment about healthcare as well, which will stun you. You'll be floored by this, as much as I was floored by Montana's candidate. Hovde has just a tremendous amount of stupidity in his comments. So here's
In my opinion, we need to return healthcare to pure private.
This is Tim Sheehy in Montana. He's running for Senate, and this is his weird idea about healthcare.
In my opinion, we need to return healthcare to pure privatization, because it's like student loans. It's like federal student loans. You know, when you have students who have an unlimited access to federal student loans, the cost of education has gone up 2,000% in the last 45 years. Because the colleges know they can charge whatever they're going to charge because the student loan will pay.
Actually, Republicans started squeezing colleges across the nation and not funding them. And that's why the costs went up. It's not because the federal money was there and they thought they'd take it. Okay, that's a lie right out of the gate.
And it's a similar dynamic, not exactly, but similar in healthcare, where we've got a subsidy system that has got perverse incentives for the healthcare.
So would you say to put all healthcare into private insurance companies, or are you thinking that some kind of a subsidy?
Healthcare worked before health insurance existed. Each town had a doctor that would drive to your house, take care of you, and you'd pay him. Or her. You'd give them money. And guess what? It worked. You know, it worked when you'd actually pay a doctor for the service provided. And then we started getting into this HMO, insurance, mega conglomerate structure.
Just incredible.
What is going on there?
What is wrong, right?
He's talking about home health care back in the old days, the doctor's visits, the doctors.
And all you have to do is just pay him at the door, on his way out. Hey, thanks. Here's $3,000.
John, we have Joe on the phone lines this morning. You can call us at 608-879-8255. Joe, go ahead with your call. Good morning.
Hi, this is Joe. I'm assuming that I'm on, correct?
Yes, you are. You are on the air.
Hey, thanks a lot, you guys. First off, the show is great. I'm really, really enjoying your presentation, and I'm just calling in response to the January 6th insurrection and offering a few more points on that. And I just, that Mike Johnson had stated that with the release of this new footage, and you spoke of it, I can't remember which one of you spoke of it, as being 3 weeks of continuous, just imagine video for 3 weeks continuously. That's how much is slowly being released.
Yep.
And Johnson had said something along the lines of, this new footage will show you that it completely demolishes the narrative of January 6th committee. And I find this fascinating because it's so stupid. So you're showing footage where there's a hallway in the Capitol, and you say there's no crime in this hallway, therefore there is no crime. Now imagine that if you had a prosecution of a bank robbery, and the prosecution submits footage from a security camera of 6 bank employees with guns against their heads, and saying, look, this is what happened, this is what these bank robbers this bank robber did, and this is why we're bringing this prosecution. And then the defense attorney, shows footage from the employee lounge of the bank and says, gee, look at this footage. There's no crime here, so no problem at all. It's so remarkably stupid. You show the footage where the crime took place. Duh. So I wanted to mention that point, and then I also wanted to return to, I had mentioned before on Matt's show, I talked about this site called Sedition Hunters, and you can look at it, folks, at seditionhunters.org, and it is a global group of people who look at the footage from January 6th and are carefully every day uncovering new people to be identified, and then they pass along this information to the FBI. They've been absolutely instrumental because the FBI doesn't have those resources to be able to do that. Well, the Sedition Hunters just came out with a book. I have not read it, but I'm very anxious to read it. So it's called Sedition Hunters. It's the author's last name is Reynolds. And one of the things they say in the forefront to the book is they say, this was an unprecedented crime. Nothing like this has happened in American history, where you have hundreds of people who basically committed sedition. And they say, okay, now what do you do with this? And what their idea of coming up with this site where you can go and you can identify people, because what happens is that, the FBI posts a picture. This provides a, global look at, well, gee, that looks like my Uncle Bob. Holy
Right.
cow, I'm going to call FBI and pass on that information. So I'd really encourage people to take a look at the seditionhunters.org website. It's absolutely fascinating to see how they got their information and how they built on it and how they are using these tools. And people are being prosecuted every day.
Wow.
Every day people are coming through from tips that this group has provided. So again, it's seditionhunters.org is the name of the site, and then Sedition Hunters is the name of the book. And then I would just encourage people to be a little bit dubious about footage of an empty hallway, and then people saying, "Look, there's nothing happening."
Look, there's just people going to the coffee machine. See, nothing really happened,
Really, it's
until they found out. Yeah, it's
What else
strange
was
and
happening?
blurring their faces because the FBI
Right.
has the unblurred footage. So yeah, I heard your call, by the way. So good call, and I appreciate your input on that. Sounds like a group that you and me, Gordy, we should
Yes.
interview these people.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah, we should
see what they're
reach
doing.
out and see if we can do that. Thank
All
you,
right,
Joe.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Take care,
all right.
guys.
All right.
All right.
And now I want to get to the healthcare thing that we were talking about, from the Montana candidate for Senate, thinking that, doctors still go out to a house and you just pay them there. Hovde, Eric Hovde, potential Senate candidate challenging Tammy Baldwin, supports stripping protections, healthcare protections from millions of Americans, opening them up to obscene prices for life-saving critical health care. This is Eric Hovde. It's just breathtaking, his perspective on this.
We have to try to defund every aspect of Obamacare.
Look, the more we've moved to a socialized system of medicine, we've seen the quality of our health in this country decline.
We have to start getting back to self-reliance, independence.
But we also have to have people stand on their own 2 feet and start focusing on their health. We have an obesity crisis. We've taken away people's self-responsibility to try to take care of their own health.
And we'll be right back.
We'll continue that.
How long was that clip that you were playing?
We're on camera.
What?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's 42 seconds.
So we just cut it off. Oh, well.
So we got all of it in. You just
No.
cut off at the end. Or?
Yeah. No, I didn't get. That's not even halfway.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You want to come back on that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
God, you got to hear this guy.
Okay. And then what else we got? Oh, a few things from today's paper. Brewers.
All right, we'll do the Hovde thing, and
What else you got?
I got a Second Amendment thing, and this is a new decision by a federal judge, and this is just shows how crazy gun laws are getting, or the lack of gun laws.
Okay.
I'm going to play this track again from the beginning. So.
All right.
It's important. Hovde is, definitely going to be a competitor with Baldwin. So.
Rocker says, I think he's talking about Mike Johnson when he says this. Wait till he comes after those pesky left-wing radio hosts.
Good one, Rocker. Hey, Rocker, why don't you call in on Friday's show and tell us about what you got going on?
I'm welcome to understand.
What you got going on for the weekend. Just an idea if you got time on Friday morning.
Part of our Wisconsin.
Got about 1 minute. Rocker says for sure about coming on the show on Friday.
Yeah, just come on for a few minutes. Tell us what the lineup is for Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, we can work out details after.
Yeah, or if you want to Zoom in a call, we can, do that too. Phone or Zoom, whatever. I got a couple of little stories. One on climate and one on the Brewers.
20 seconds.
Wrap this healthcare thing up.
Yeah. And I got the wheel to spin, the news wheel.
Absolutely.
Let's
bring it back.
Should I have it in the background? I think I'll set it up in the background, but spin it.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Mouthwash Cola Soda Pop, the all-new soda pop that cleans your breath while it rots your teeth.
Good stuff.
Mad Radio, 92.7 FM and 1580 AM, Madison. And, of course, we're getting a lot of comments here. And I do like Rocker's comment about Trump. Only one day is needed as dictator. The rest, he would serve as emperor. So, that is basically it. We're talking about health care right now. And the possibility that Eric Hovde will be a challenger to Tammy Baldwin for the Senate seat that's opening up. I love the fact that he is out there in Laguna Beach. Okay, he's running in Wisconsin. He'll be running in Wisconsin, but of course he's out there in Laguna Beach.
Laguna Beach. That's a little way. That's kind of outside the state border, isn't it?
You think, right? Anyway. These are comments, by the way, not recent, but they are comments from 2012 about healthcare and his perception of healthcare and how devastating it would be to have this guy in the Senate. Here's his comment again from the beginning.
We have to try to defund every aspect of Obamacare.
Look, the more we've moved to a socialized system of medicine, we've seen the quality of our health in this country decline.
We have to start getting back to self-reliance, independence.
But we also have to have people stand on their own 2 feet and start focusing on their health. We have an obesity crisis. We've taken away people's self-responsibility to try to take care of their own health.
Are there any prongs of the Affordable Care Act that you support, specifically some of the ones that seem to be more popular, including the provision of covering young adults or coverage for pre-existing conditions?
No. I believe that the problem with our healthcare sector over the last 30 years has been ever-increasing government involvement.
As it pertains to allowing kids up to 26, I understand it, but I also am concerned that we continue to extend a variation of childhood far too long. At 21 years old, my parents had, one child, another child on their way. They were standing on their own 2 feet.
Yeah, standing on your own 2 feet,
Back in the old days.
Pre-existing conditions, no big deal with that. He acts like health care or people's health is determined by what they do in life. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times it's biological, it's heredity.
Mhm.
It's your genetic makeup that determines your health. So a lot of times we don't have a choice in this. We don't have a choice when an accident occurs and we're disabled for a long period of time or for a life.
Or special needs kids, or,
Right.
I mean, really, the list goes on and on.
It really does. I mean, you could think you're very healthy and you're eating well, but you could have a kidney stone, all of a sudden, because that's your genetic makeup. You are predisposed to maybe getting kidney stones.
Mhm.
But he acts like, oh, we have control over all of that, and well, if you break your leg, here's you have disposable $6,000 to pass along to somebody. It doesn't happen, and it's a very strange way of thinking about healthcare as a responsibility that a person should have, instead of having like maybe a universal healthcare system in place for everybody to be able to get healthcare at any time they need it without getting a bill, where every hospital is your hospital, where every doctor is your doctor. That's what it's all about. And no bills, no surprise bills whatsoever. You go in, if you have a spot on your arm or something, you can have it looked at. If you have a problem, a pain in your side, it could be very serious. You could go in and have it examined. But, we all just sit there and we self-regulate, we self-ration, and that's what they count on, self-rationing. They always talk about the government, if we have a universal government system, that the government will ration. Well, that's not true. What's going to happen right now is that we are rationing. We are doing our own rationing. We're not going to the doctor when we need to. And that's the worst kind, because we're not doctors. We can't make the decision saying, well, maybe I'll just wait a few more weeks. We really need to have these things looked at right away. Urgent care centers are great, but we really have to have something, a universal healthcare system. The government is not going to ration healthcare because, we got to elect the politicians that control that stuff. So it's really a necessary item that this country should finally go to, and we should be talking about it as Democrats constantly.
And it also involves preventative health care. I mean, that's so important, but people put it off because they don't. It's not covered, or they can't get coverage for that. But preventative health care can really be a time saver and a life saver and a money saver if you keep up on your health care preventatively. So it's just another aspect of it.
Yep.
Is it time to spin the new news wheel? John,
Yes.
what do you
Yes,
think?
I think
you
it
ready
is.
for this? All I
Yes,
have to do
I'm-
now is push a button and it automatically spins right
I've been
behind me.
anticipating this.
Watch that. See, it's spinning so fast you can't even tell that it's spinning. Right?
The wonders of electronics.
Oh, it landed on a Brewers story.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, guess what? It finally happened. Governor Tony Evers yesterday signed into law a bill that authorizes spending more than $500 million in state and local funds to maintain American Family Field and keep the Brewers in Wisconsin. The deal is done. He signed the bill. They're going to stay. The law calls for the state to spend $382 million, and then for the city of Milwaukee and county to each spend $67.5 million, and then the Brewers also put up $100 million or $150 million or something.
Right.
So everything is good now. The Brewers stay in Wisconsin, and the American Family Field will get updated and upgraded, and life is good
Well,
for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Maybe. I don't know. Did they include raising ticket prices for non-brewer events?
Well, I don't see
Because
that in this article in today's State Journal.
They just keep raising the price for all of us to enjoy ourselves in our private lives.
Mhm.
And I just think it's wrong. It shouldn't be bore out in ticket prices. We shouldn't have to pay more.
Well,
We've
and
got
I'm sure-
millionaire billionaires doing this stuff. They've got teams. They should bear the brunt of this thing. It shouldn't be people who buy tickets for events at the stadium that don't, that aren't brewer related. It shouldn't be on our backs.
Well, and these concert promoters that come in and do special concerts at the stadium, what do they pay to have those concerts, and how much, could they be taxed? So, could they pony up a
Right.
little bit more money when they're raking in millions of dollars on those concerts?
Exactly.
Anyway, hell, let's spin the wheel again, John. We got time.
Oh, yeah.
I like the electronic spinning wheel. It makes it so much easier for me. I don't have to expend any energy.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
What did it land on this time?
It landed on climate change. There's a climate summit. UN agency sounds the alarm. That doesn't sound good, does it?
No.
The United Nations Weather Agency. I didn't even know the weather agency was involved with the United Nations, but they have their own weather agency. It's reporting that glaciers shrank more than ever from 2011 to 2020 in the Antarctic ice sheet, lost 75% more compared to the previous 10 years. That doesn't sound good.
No.
It released its latest stark report about the fallout on planet and climate change. Okay, the World Meteorological Organization served up more evidence of what scientists already know: the Earth is heating. And on Tuesday, they said this time it's looking at the trend over a longer period. And each decade since the 1990s has been warmer than the previous decade, and we see no immediate sign of this trend reversing. We're losing the race to save our melting glaciers and ice sheets. Warming oceans and melting of ice sheets cause the rate of sea level to nearly double in less than a generation. And experts are divided about the metrics, of course, but of course, this is not good for low-lying coastal regions and countries. The military is very concerned about this. The U.S. military and all these military bases that are built where? On the coasts.
Right.
They're very close on many of these special naval and Air Force installations. They're built on coasts, and now the sea level rising is going to start going right into some of these military bases. They're going to be the first ones affected. So they're very concerned about climate change. Where are they going to build new bases? They have to go to higher ground? And, that's just one of the concerns.
And we know that the military is using PFAS in almost everything. So we have water, leaching out the PFAS into the ocean. So into our waterways, so that's a problem too. I also have something on climate change. Do I have time for that? I think I do, right?
Yeah, you got a few minutes here.
All right.
We're getting some text too. But,
all right. If the U.S. is going to meet the climate goals and electrify the system, homeowners will need to get on board with solar panels, heat pumps, and electric vehicles and more. Rural Americans, get this, with higher incomes and more education are more likely to put solar panels on the roof or buy a heat pump. A recent survey of rural residents found that 54% didn't think renewable energy sources could ever meet 100% of the country's energy needs. So well-educated, wealthy residents out there in the rural areas are most likely to embrace the clean energy transition. Another factor, if your neighbors are adopting technology, then you're more likely to adopt the technology, Keeping up with the Joneses.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're getting a couple of texts on previous things we were discussing, and let's take a look at this one. The first one, we were talking about healthcare, and I don't have a name on this one, but text came in. It says, my father was a lifelong walking paraplegic with foot drop, and thanks to the Air Force, changed his health trajectory for his life. The VA is a whole different
conversation.
Thank you. But another example of universal health care that needs the system in place. And that's the truth. I mean, the VA has done better, but there's so many military folks that need that for life, need health care for life from the VA.
And the VA system, all these different systems, Medicare, Medicaid, all of these things would just go to the wayside. and we'd have universal coverage. We wouldn't need different departments. We wouldn't need, to keep up to date on them. We don't need to redo them. We don't need reform. It's just one system that you have to take care of. And of course, you could certainly have a slightly different system for the VA, because there's, they deal with certain issues that maybe, need special care, special attention. So, but again, all of these different facets of healthcare that we've set up in this country really just kind of go away, disappear, and we could just fund one system.
And of course, with the American Care Act that President Obama helped to put in place, we were heading in that direction. We were getting that, but that's something, if Trump gets reelected, that's one of the first things to go. Going to get rid of Obamacare, get rid of the American
well, not only
Healthcare
that, but,
Act.
I've heard that Biden now, because of the repeal of Obamacare by Trump, Biden is thinking, no, we're actually going to propose reform for the ACA, make it even better.
Time to update it and upgrade it.
Time to update it, right. Yeah. And that's a great counter idea. So I think that certainly is something that could happen. So, climate change, healthcare, all these things. What's really important, though, for the Republicans, and there are 16 Republican governors all signing a letter asking the Biden administration to take action on China. The letter asks the administration, along with House and Senate leaders, to take steps to stop Chinese Communist Party from buying land in the U.S. So they're preoccupied with that. We're worried about health care and climate change.
We'll have more on that right after this. Sam, I don't know if there's anything you can do. When you're playing the music in and out, it's really loud on my system. Yeah. But that channel seems to be the only one that's like excessively loud. Everything else sounds balanced.
That's weird.
But when you're playing music, it's
like when I'm fading in too.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, fading in, no, that's okay.
But just when it's up to full volume?
Yes, it's like really much louder, and I can't figure that out. So I pull the music down. I pull it down on my end.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I have to. Then it's hard to hear if John's talking when we're playing the music coming in. But tweaking, I don't know. I don't know if we can do anything about it.
A well-regulated.
All right. Last segment here.
We got just 10 seconds or so.
Do we have another local story here? Let me see. I got a whole bunch of stories, boy. Mad Radio, WMDX 92.7 FM. The John and Gordy Show. Odd little things are happening in our courts. And basically, I guess, focusing mostly on the Supreme Courts, they are coming up with little tests now. These aren't included in the Constitution. No one has written that the Supreme Courts should use these tests. It's very strange because we're accepting these tests now that will determine the constitutionality of whatever it is that is being challenged. And
what kind of tests are we talking about?
And my head is just spinning from this. A federal judge struck down the Biden administration's attempt to ban adults ages 8 through 20 from buying handguns, ruling in favor of 2 individuals who were affected by that ban. 2 people. So the judge's decision emphasized the Second Amendment's unqualified command and the need for gun control laws to align with, and this is the new standard, with historical traditions of firearm regulation. This is a ridiculous standard. Again, we're going into the past, pulling out the worst of the worst laws that have been driven into the ground, gotten rid of, but we're going by that standard. We're going back to those laws as a way to determine what's constitutional now. And, you know, one of the simplest and shortest rights that we have is the Second Amendment. It's just, this is not a brain teaser. You know, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's very simple, the militia thing. And because we don't have militias anymore, the Second Amendment is moot. It just doesn't exist. It shouldn't be there. There is no reason for this. So anyway, that's my little rant on the Second Amendment. But anyway, only if firearm regulation is consistent with the nation's historical tradition may a court conclude that the individual's conduct falls outside the Second Amendment's unqualified command. No, it is not unqualified. You know, Scalia and his court basically said, oh, well, you know, forget the militia part, you know? It just gives people the right to bear arms, period. Well, it's ridiculous. That should never have happened, ever. The defendants have failed to meet the burden imposed by Brown, which, you know, determined was the recent decision that says you have to use historical standards in order to determine what is and isn't constitutional. So I have this little clip. You gotta love this. This is Chief Justice Warren Burger on guns. Listen to this.
A well-regulated militia. If I were writing the Bill of Rights now, there wouldn't be any such thing as the Second Amendment.
Which says?
That a well-regulated militia being necessary for the defense of the state, the people's rights to bear arms. This has been the subject of one of the greatest pieces of fraud, I repeat the word fraud, on the American public by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Now just look at those words. There are only 3 lines to that amendment.
Yes.
A well-regulated militia. If the militia, which was going to be the state army, was going to be well-regulated, why shouldn't 16 and 17 and 18 or any other age persons be regulated in the use of arms the way an automobile is regulated?
There you go.
That says it all there.
That really, really brings it home, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just common sense, and anyone who's read the Second Amendment obviously, you know, can just see that it's about one subject. It's the militias, well regulated, by the way. That is a standard set by the U.S. So why not go by the well regulated part as a standard?
That tends to get ignored, the well regulated part.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
and
anyway. They keep carrying down. The gun laws are just being tossed out left and right because of this standard, which no one can meet, and it's cherry picked. Yeah, I mean, you can pick whatever standard you want from the past, and you could ignore all the other ones. You know, where you used to go into a western town and turn your guns in before you go out into the society there in that town. So now, you know, forget those. You know, they got to ignore that stuff. You know,
right? Yeah. Well, and the you know, that law, the Second Amendment, written, you know, decades, centuries before AR-15s,
right?
You know, and machine guns and tanks, and I mean, we do regulate what you can have to a point. You can't have a tank, you know, you can't have a bazooka, you can't have a rocket launcher, but AR-15s, you know, with multiple clips, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, we don't want to regulate those.
Well, you bear arms. You know, what is an arm? You know, how do you define that? A rocket launcher could be an arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, somewhere along the way, you can, you know, define it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
maybe there is a standard someplace along the way in our history where we should pick all the worst laws that ever came out and are forgotten now. Let's use that as our standard to determine what our laws should be today.
Go back in history. That's right. Coming up tomorrow on the big show, of course, tonight down at the University of Alabama, the 4 contenders that are going to be participating in the big next Republican debate will be on hand. Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, they'll be there, but the former president will not be there. Of course, he's skipping this debate, and he's going to do some other thing somewhere else to try to attract attention to him instead of the people that are debating. But we'll kind of watch that debate for you this evening and have some more on that tomorrow. Nikki Haley continues to rise in the polls, and she's continuing to get more big money piling on to her bandwagon since the Koch brothers, gave her some money. More people have been doing that. The more big money she gets, the more her numbers seem to be going up, and we'll see what happens after the debate, of course. So that's happening, and
you kind of wonder, where the MAGA voters are. Why they're not complaining about Trump not being a part of the debates. I mean, shouldn't they want to hold him to that standard as well? To be asked the questions, hear his answers, his response to other candidates. And,
no, they're not
and
interested.
what they're thinking. You'd think they'd be, just saying, no, well, you should be a part of this, so we can make a judgment on it instead of just being called cult members.
Well, we'll have more on the debate tomorrow. That's going to wrap it up for us for today. We hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. So long.
Gordy in the morning, as we were saying, let the sun shine. It's the John and Gordy Show.